Right, hi guys. So I went down to Headcorn. It's an aerodrome, old Second World War one, I think, and they've got an airstrip there which has got the Spitfire and everything. I was hoping it was going to be flying, but I didn't see it. There's two there, I think. But they had a car show on, and I'd popped in there the week before, and a guy said, "Oh, this is the bigger one next week." And I was like, oh, "Okay, well, I'll go down. Hopefully the Spitfires will be flying as well." This car here was so low. They were just being very careful about not setting the grass on fire because it was hot exhaust, and that's why we reversed it back to cool it down a bit before it went into where the grass was longer. But yeah, no, it was a really enthusiast thing. It was free, but obviously you paid for parking. But other than that, it was a free thing. If you turned up in a cool car, you know, you were part of the group kind of thing. Really, there was a massive selection there. Everything from the AC Cobras, Lamborghinis, the old Stag here, and obviously Audi TT. It was about 4 or 5 of those. Loads of Fiat 500s because apparently they're really popular. Um, some older stuff as well. A GT40, which was kind of the star of the show, really. My car, one RCZ, no others, which was good because it confused people a little bit. Wonder what it was. The new Lotus, Porsches, Ferraris. Is that a TR6? I think. Yep. And just a mixture of other things. So people turning up in normal cars and having a walk around. Really, it was just a really nice atmosphere. Talked to a few different people. Some cars had loads of money spent on them as modifications. Some had massive restorations. Some very interesting ones like this van here, jacked up with an interesting interior. A few Beetles, but the modern ones, a few of the old ones as well, a couple of Land Rovers, Mustangs, old Volvo T5s, one that had been done up, it looked like a halfway between a police car and a sort of pace car kind of thing, race car inside. But that was like a charity thing. Well, they looked like they were trying to raise money for somebody. Old Volvos, as in the old sort of, is it the Saint TV show? Ford Focuses, the RS and the ST200s, I think they were called. Minis, pretty much anything classic you can think of. The old Cortinas, obviously the Mustangs, and anything in between, really. Even a Metro. I couldn't believe I saw there was a Metro still running. But yeah, really, really cool. And you can just walk around for ages, really, just sort of appreciating different cars. Photography wise, it wasn't the easiest, and there are photos at the end of the video, so if you just want to jump to that, you can do, but they're not brilliant. I didn't have a polarizer on me, which probably should have done, really, and I didn't really think about it. And it was bad lighting. It was just harsh sunshine anyway, so not brilliant. Ferrari Testarossa there, it's pretty cool. Lotus. But yeah, it was just an interesting day out. Clio V6. But yeah, so unfortunately, obviously, where the cars are parked up, you can't really get any good shots of them because they're so close to each other, and also either a fence or something like that. So anyway, I could really get some of the shots were when they were driving in and they were turning around, so the field and everything was in the distance. But still, it's not really a car photo shoot kind of area. It's just to appreciate cars, really. Planes taking off occasionally as well, which is kind of cool because it's weird because it's just like quite peaceful. Everyone's just sat there. The cars are turned off, most of them, unless they're arriving. So it's not a noisy show as such. You can hear the odd V8 and things like that, which is nice. But every now and again you get a plane come down the runway, and so it was a little bit different. There's the GT40. I don't know if it was an original. It's very difficult to tell, unless it was a blueprint version. But an absolute beast, whatever. I mean, the width of those rear tyres are nuts. But yeah, it was pretty cool, really, end of the day. I'm going by that engine. It was probably a replica or a more modern version of an old one. Some of the cars were looking very happy, like this one here. His mate behind him. You also got the little Fiats, Minis. My car next to one of these little Fiats here was hilarious. You could literally pick one of these up and put it in my boot. And that's how much narrower and smaller they were compared to my car, which is hilarious. So yeah, It was just a good day. I mean, it was nice. I got bored eventually because obviously you can walk around and look at the same cars many times. It wasn't huge. It wasn't thousands of cars. It was a few hundred. But like I say, it was a nice day. People want to show off what they own. People are interested in the engines and things like that. So I'd look in this engine bay here, which is like literally immaculate. When you open my engine bay, it's just dusty and full of cobwebs and whatever. But yeah, they spend some time on refurbing and keeping them clean and yeah, making sure they are tip-top condition. Bit OCD really, but it's whatever you like, isn't it? Everything's a little bit different. So that little Fiat there, it had a different engine put in it. It was still sticking out the back, so I don't think it was particularly slow. LMG there, yeah, and some of the cars were just nuts. I mean, you got some cool old BMWs, old Vauxhalls, some of the old American muscle sort of cars, old Rolls Royces, and E-Type Jag. So there was a massive selection. So it was pretty much for everyone, really. There was, even old Austins and things like that. Is it Triumph? I don't know what they are. I can say Spitfire, I don't think it is. Ford Fiestas. This bloke here was polishing his Fiesta forever, the blue one. But yeah, no, it was cool. Some modern stuff, some older stuff. A bit of a mixture. There was even an old Ford. What was the first ever Ford? One of the old Ford cars, all wooden and everything was there as well. But old TR7. Some of them are literally thinking, blimey, how are they still running? Old MG. But this American car here was enormous. That one that's just there on the right hand side, absolutely massive. It must have been 8 feet wide, it looked like about 40 feet long. It was huge, absolutely massive. You can't really appreciate it in the shot here, other than if you take the Cerber in front of it and the Escort. But it was just ridiculous. You could sit 4 people across there with no trouble, even though it's a 3-seat. But 4 people easily in there. So 8 people inside the car with no drama whatsoever. Pickup truck here, really quite cool actually. Muscle, supercharged. No idea what sort of power it's chucking out, but it was quite a cool looking machine as well. Probably made all the right noises. And the Fiat 500s, not my sort of thing, but everyone to their own. And there's someone's Lucy's Instagram if you want to go and have a look at her stuff. Cool old Porsche. That was something else. That was bordering as cool as the GT40. But as I say, you can walk around all afternoon, and there's plenty of different cars there. Like I say, more modern, some old. It just shows you that everyone there has the same interest, but with a slightly different twist. So, and it's what you could afford at the end of the day, isn't it? If you can afford a Fiat 500 and do a few mods to it, it's a relatively cheap thing to do. But then if you've got an old Porsche, for example, or Ferrari or something like that, it's not going to be that cheap to restore or modify. And some of the cars are probably very temperamental. Like the AC Cobras here, which are probably replicas, but still they are going to be temperamental because they are, in such a custom build as such. Some of the other old vehicles over there, and you've got some of the old Ford and Dodge pickups, and that crazy thing there, that looks like something out of Scooby-Doo, doesn't it? But yeah, really cool. Like I say, I could walk around it all day, but eventually I got bored and left. But like I say, there was tons to look at, but unfortunately it's a little bit limited because they're not really doing anything. If you go to the big shows like Goodwood and stuff, at least there's cars blasting around, but obviously this is more of a static show. But it was nice to speak to people, and you get to see things that you don't see every day, like this old Porsche 911 and a few other cool cars as well. So I'll probably go to another one at some point, but we shall see where that is. But yeah, anyway, it was definitely worthwhile popping over. Like I say, a cheap day out really, £3 to park. I think I went and got a sausage roll and a drink, and stayed there for a couple of hours, and appreciated a few of the cars there that I quite liked. That new Lotus, for example, was pretty cool, the blue one. And then the MX-5 team turned up. I think it was about 5 or 6 of them, and they seemed to like to make loads of noise and go, "We're cool," and you're like, "Well, are you really?" And then a cool TVR turned up. Yeah, he made a little bit of a noise. But yeah, no, like I say, really cool. After that, I just left really and just carried on for a drive, enjoy my car. But yeah, so anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed the video. It's a bit of a random one, I know, but if you're into cars and you like stuff like this camera is pretty good for it, because I was using the intelligent active stabilisation, so it's relatively steady when I'm walking around. Like I say, you've got so much range, so you can basically photograph the car's wide angle, and then you can zoom in on a plane that's coming into land, for example, taking off. So you've got plenty of scope on different views, and it just allows you to just do so much with it. You can see how windy it was. And that's why I voiced over all of this, because it was quite windy. He's all over the shop. He did come in safely, but yeah, you can see he had to make a lot of adjustments just to keep the thing in line with the runway there. But anyway, here are some of the photos and some of the other cars quickly. But yeah, it was an interesting one. So yeah, I didn't bother editing these. I literally took JPEGs, to be fair. But yeah, it was a worthwhile trip out. It was really nice. Lots of lovely people, and like I say, I think the favourite car, well, two favourite cars actually, were the Ford GT40 and the old Porsche Spider, I think it was called, isn't it? Just as a design pieces of just stunning cars. But there was plenty of stuff there for everyone. So anyway, here are the pictures, and just have a look. So this Cortina was probably the cleanest car there. Actually ridiculous. The engine bay was absolutely immaculate. Old Corvette, which was kind of cool. Made a nice noise when it went past. That's one of the old cars I was talking about. Had a wooden rear end, and it was pretty mad. And then a few of the badges that I should have lined up properly, really, but I didn't. But as you can see, I didn't bother editing any of these. I just thought it was kind of cool. Lotus one being probably the nicest one. Old Lamborghini there. I actually went in for a ride in one of those, a real one. A doctor I knew had one, and it was cool, but at the same time I was quite unimpressed. Like I say, a few other cars. If you could get a shot like that in the field, minus a house, it wasn't too bad. But like I say, you're always limited to vehicles with cars in shot, which I suppose in some respects it's pretty good because it shows you where you were. But to do a Ford GT40 as a proper photo shoot would be quite cool. I mean, they're just stunning vehicles, and it's pretty much the same height as that door on the car, the other side of it. The old Alfa. Yeah, my car, I don't remember about that one. But it was the only one there, so it's probably one of the rarer cars there that was actually there. But the old Volvo, like I say, I didn't have a polarizer. I should have done. Didn't even think about it. I just got up in the morning and went out, and it was kind of a bit of an impulse. Drive out really. I thought, should I go? Should I? And I thought, yeah, might as well. Just a shame the Spitfires weren't flying, because that would have been really, really quite cool to see it as well. Would have added to the video. But the wind, as usual, the wind's now dropped now, which is great. But it's been 12 to 15 miles an hour constant for the last month, and it's just been really annoying. One of those little theatre baths. Ford GT with his boot open, with his engine bay. And then little Fiat with the engine sticking out the back. Other than that, guys, it was a good fun day, but like I say, a little bit restricted. And me being me, I got a little bit bored after a while because I couldn't be creative enough with it. Yeah, you could do close-ups with things, but at the same time, you kind of want the whole car in, don't you? And unless they were out in the field somewhere on their own, it was a very difficult thing to do. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Get out there with the cameras. The weather at the moment here in the UK is rather nice. It's a bit hot, but it's now looking quite good. So yeah, I'll be out soon with the camera again. So take care.